All right, welcome back. It's time for us to get into a nutrition conversation on our segment today. Of course, it's a Monday. You know that every Monday we bring you nutrition. And Akosua Kudidi Adam, who is a state-registered nutritionist, has joined us in this studio. And we're going to be talking today about malnutrition. All right, let's get right into this conversation this morning. Malnutrition. And Akosua, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. It's good to have you here.
It's always a pleasure.
All right. Well, let's get into this conversation. I mean, I know that sometimes we say that a child, for example, is malnutrition. It's suffering from malnutrition, right? But the child is eating. So how are they eating and still not getting the nutrition that they need, they require?
Okay, so that could be a reason why this child is malnourished or suffering from malnutrition. But then malnutrition can happen as a result of inadequate dietary intake, or you not getting what you need for your body as a child, for that little child. And so there will be a need for things to be done to make sure it is back to where it has to be.
Okay.
And for some children, they are taking it like you are saying, but then growth or proper growth is not happening, and so you can clearly see that there is a problem with it. It could be as a result of a lot of things, including even a medical condition leading to that. And the research says that by the UNICEF 2019 said that 2 out of 3 children in Ghana between the ages 6 months to 2 years are not fed with what will help their body and their brain. And so in as much as we find ourselves in a cosmopolitan setting, and mothers could sometimes or can sometimes afford certain kinds of feed for their children, it is very important that you ask yourself that, is it satisfying every element of proper nutrition? If that is not being satisfied, then it means that you fall into the category of the 2 out of every 3 child between the ages 6 months to 2 years. And for some mothers too, because I can afford, they end up buying certain things for these children, and so they come and then you test or you do nutrition, or you check their vitals and do every nutrition assessment, and you can really tell that the quality of this child's whole body, or whatever strength or whatever physical appearance you are seeing is not what you expect it to be. And so it could either be that somebody is overnourished, and that can be a part or a type of malnutrition. But the focus here, we have 2 types. It's either you have undernutrition or you have overnutrition. And then we have 4 sub forms of malnutrition, where you have the wasting, that is low weight for height. So when we say somebody is wasted, you can clearly say that the height matching with the weight of this person, the corresponding factor here is totally off. And so you can clearly see that there is something wrong with this child as far as the height and the weight of the child is concerned. And then we have stunting, where it is impaired growth and development. You can see in some children, you go like, this child is 3 years, and everybody is surprised that this child is 3 years because they are looking at somebody who is 1 or probably 1.5. So with that, what will also help us to better diagnose or make our diagnosis has to do with the weighing book, what we call the MCHRB, what we go to antenatal with, because it starts, the book is given to you when you're pregnant, and then this is what the child will fall on until baby is out, and even at age 5. So when you go for CWC or weighing, the weight of the child is taken, the height of the child is ideally supposed to be checked at 3 months, 6 months, in that order. But you realize that those who love to go to the community centers for weight and weighing, sometimes these things are not checked, and our folks who love to go to some of the private hospitals, they don't have these things done for them. And stunting can't be corrected after 2 years. If your child is stunted and this child,
they're going to carry it throughout their lives.
The child is going to carry that side effect for good. And so it's very important that you stick to a facility that will make sure that I know for the private facility, it's very expensive affording a nutritionist. But then when you go to the government facility, sometimes it is much subsidized. And my facility, like Rich, for instance, you won't pay for it. So for now, you can come there for now. But then you realize that there, the weight will be checked, the length of the child. So when a child is below 2 years, we check the length because it is believed that the child cannot stand.
Yeah.
So whoever cannot stand, you don't check the height. You check the length.
Yeah.
So the length will be checked. When the child is born, there are lots of checks that are done. But when the child is given or handed over to you and we go to our various homes, some of these checks are not continued.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we do that. When your child is 6 months, the MWAC will need to be checked. So there is a tape with the red indicator, with the yellow indicator and the green indicator, and that is one of the most powerful tool you can use to even assess malnutrition or assess underweight or undernutrition in somebody, for you to do RETF or the ready to use therapeutic feed, and then whatever you need to do. So if there is diarrhea, there is vomiting, then there is a procedure you need to go through. That one, the facility will quickly take over. Resomol is prepared for this child to make sure we keep this child hydrated, and then we go in with the feed, either F75, F100. That was very technical. You can't prepare it in the house, but then when it gets to a point where this child has to be inpatient, then that will need to be done for us to put the child at a safer zone where you can go home with this child and schedule for a weekly visit so that we can make sure we are doing all the checks needed to be done.
You mentioned a MWAC. What's a MWAC?
So it's a mid-upper arm circumference. It's a tape. I forgot to bring it in my bag. So it has this red incision, red category. It has the yellow category, and then we have the green category. So we have 2 slits, and there is a way to check that. If you're not a professional, I beg you can't do this. You need to go to the health facility so that it is done for you. If your child is within the red zone, so this is used for children above 6 months, and so every child, no matter where you find yourself, this is used by the WHO as far as assessments is concerned in children up to age 5. And so if your child is at the red zone, it means that this child is undernourished or wasted, and for that zone we need to put this child on the therapy or the therapeutic food to make sure that we bring this child back to a safer zone. If your child is at yellow, for instance, if my child was brought in at red and this child is at yellow, it is good news for me because I am convinced that the child is doing well. But then if after coming for CWC clinics, you were at green, which means that is the normal zone for where every child is supposed to be. If this child moves from green to yellow, then it means we are heading for trouble. And the yellow column is called MAM. That is, you are moderately suffering from acute malnutrition, and if care is not taken, so for the yellow zone we heavily preach that you do extensive fortification of your child's food. And so for the meal fortification, we can recommend that you make sure that whatever the family is eating, the child is responsibly introduced to it and presented in a baby-friendly way. So there is one classical example I use. If you are eating fufu and chicken live soup, because we want to fortify it further, I'll put carrots in there just to enhance on it. I put potato, the local one, the orange flesh potato, because it is naturally fortified with vitamin A and beta carotene. So I want everything I want to step up as far as every nutrient need of this child is concerned. Now, instead of giving cassava, which can't be compared to the orange flesh potato, I'll put that one in the soup, put the carrot in, fetch some of the soup, pick the carrot, pick the potato, and then pick the protein. So if it's chicken, I'll pick a bit of it and then blend it all together into a puree. At the end of the day, as a family, you are having fufu with chicken live soup, but my child or that child is having the same thing, but the nutrient composition in that food is higher than what the family is having. So that's how you trick it, because 6 months, 8 months, some of these children can't even swallow properly. And when we talk about baby-friendly foods, it means that it should be something the baby is comfortable with it. So if you want your fufu hard, that is not for the baby. Whatever we are doing as far as the puree we made can satisfy the 4-star diet protocol, where you have animal protein in there, you have fruits and vegetables satisfied in there, you have the staples satisfied in there. And for the Akans who used to use the white beans for their soup, you can be sure that that category of pulses, nuts and seeds or legumes family will also be satisfied. So that is what we will preach. I don't know if you want me to go on with we have another type, which is vitamin and mineral deficiencies.
Okay.
So that can also be a form of malnutrition. So you can be malnourished in a mineral or a vitamin. You have people having vitamin B12 deficiency, B6 deficiency. So it's the reason why we have some of the B complexes around. And then we have people, if you have iron and folate deficiency, obviously it's a form of undernutrition or something that needs to be corrected to make sure you are brought to where you need to be. There are various factors leading to this. Poverty can be a reason. For instance, we had a research in the North as a student some more than a decade ago. And then people were like, we don't have money to, I did it at Zabzugu Tatale, one of the villages there. And it was like, we don't have money, but they have a lot of livestock. So I go like, do you know that you can do something powerfully with one guinea fowl's egg? And it will do magic for even that child who is stunted, because egg is one of the most powerful foods we use for fortification as far as trying to help children who are likely to be stunted. Because once you do the plotting of the height at CWC, if you are not between the -2+2 score, which is in your weighing book, if you go and your child doesn't fall between the two reds, then it means that there is trouble. But various factors can be responsible for that. For instance, if my father and mother are all short, then it means that genetics can have a factor to play. And so that will need to be all checked. And then family instability. There is flood. You are dispersed, mother has lost, there is war. They can all affect it, because at the end of the day, I've been cut off my source of livelihood or whatever keeps us going. And so definitely it will affect us as a family. And then poor environmental sanitation, you saw the flood on your screen. They can all play a role as far as malnutrition is concerned, because something may leach into these waters. And I've lived in the North, and I know that people sometimes depend on that water on the ground. Sometimes some of the water, they are competing with animals for water. And so if floods should continue happening, and then there are leaching as far as deaths and all these things into the water people are depending on, it can have a role to play in this. And then ignorance. It can also be a factor, and I don't want to explain this further. Large family size, where we have to make sure that he gets 2 pieces of meat. And so if it's a family of 20, by the time we get to the youngest child,
that's the one who has the most challenge in the
But this is the typical family setting. We have to focus on the children, because they are going to grow bigger. The father is not going to grow bigger. So what we are giving to the fathers, we should reverse it and start from the bottom, because they need it much. And then we have preventable infections. If you have a child who has reoccurring infections, you are in and out of the hospitals. There are some mothers, you see them and I go like, what are you doing here again? They are literally always at the facility or at the hospital. If you have reoccurring infection, we have to do checks to know what is causing that and prevent it, or else it can prevent the assimilation of certain nutrients and then cause depletions, which may end up bringing your child there. And then medical conditions. If somebody has cancer, certain medications prevent you from even having the appetite to eat. And so they can all be a reason why. Liver disease can also be a reason why. So some medical condition. And with that, if it comes to correcting it, if you have a medical condition, the meal fortification I spoke about, in some individuals, you need to even increase their intake as far as their daily meals are concerned. There are some children and some adults, especially those who have HIV and TB, when they come and they are wasted, or they are the mom or moderate zone, you tell them, if you are doing 3 square meals per day, add an extra and do your snack of a fruit a day, and make sure your water intake is also up there, like 4 sachets for the average body. For some individuals, some come severely wasted, and there is a need for you to help them, or else whatever we are even trying to cure won't find its way. So we have people becoming from TB, they move to what we call MDR, multi-drug resistance. So they resisted the drug at TB, and now they have been pushed to a zone where you need to really intensify things. So to prevent that, because of the reoccurring of infections, you need to make sure that nutrition is heavily in there. And for teenagers and adolescents, we have the CDC, WHO graph for you to do all your interpretations. And that one, if your child is above the 95th percentile, then we can say that your child is obese. So where this child is obese, we have to know factors which contributed to that. Like I said, if you are putting in Accra, we are eating a lot of things, but as to if it is really satisfying our needs as far as our health, our nutritional well-being is concerned. There is more to be said about that. And for adults, in some adults, we heavily recommend meal fortification. We increase their meals where there are no medical conditions. And then where there is a medical condition, depending on what is going on with you. For instance, if you have liver disease, your plan might differ from somebody suffering for, let's say, any other non-communicable diseases.
Okay. So the fact that you're full when you eat doesn't mean you don't have malnutrition, because it's about the quality of what is getting in as much as the quantity.
There is something we need for our nutritional well-being or for health. You need to make sure that you are not just eating. Is it satisfying the staples protocol? Is it satisfying the fruits and vegetable protocol? Is it satisfying the animal protein and product protocol? Is it satisfying the pulses, nuts and seed protocol? Do you have essential fats, mineral salts in there? That's where margarine, butter, cheese, they all fall. Like I said, it is not evil to be eating them. But then yesterday I chanced upon a research into the oils on the market, and I'm interested in talking about it. I will do more about it, and then we probably will have a conversation around it. The fact that we are preaching something, or the fact that in Ghana sometimes they put bell on it, don't call me 2 for 5 CDs, and you see people jumping on it, doesn't mean it is something we will need. My body's need might be different. I may be suffering from A, you may be suffering from B, and so our body's needs as far as specific nutrients can't be taken out or ruled out when it comes to our health.
Fantastic. Well, Akosia, how do people get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
Okay, so you can follow me on Instagram or link up at The Nutritionist Akosia on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Nutritionist Akosia, and you can WhatsApp me on 0243 350206.
Super. Thank you very much. We've been speaking with Akosia Konadu Iyadom, who's a state registered nutritionist